Joel Embiid is a great player, one of the best bigs in fucking basketball history. Flops. He know it. This ain't breaking news.
Joel Embiid's flopping controversy. The full story. Every few months, the NBA hands you a headline so loud, so clean, so perfectly packaged for outrage that almost nobody stops to ask whether it's actually true. May 2026. The Boston Celtics just blew a 3-1 series lead to the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 7 is done, the season is over, and before the locker room even clears out, the internet has already made up its mind about why. Not about the Celtics' defense, not about their shot selection, not about their bench production. No, about one man's habit of hitting the floor, and then a stream goes live, and everything explodes. But here's what nobody slowed down long enough to verify: the centerpiece of this entire story, the lifetime ban, the suspension, the punishment, none of it exists. Not a single credible outlet confirmed it, not The Athletic, not ESPN, not the New York Post, not CBS Boston. Not Yahoo Sports. Zero. The ban is a ghost, a headline with no body underneath it. But here's what makes this story genuinely worth your time: everything else is real. The callouts are documented. The pattern spans 8 years. The criticism came from players, coaches, broadcast booths, and panel shows, and the vocabulary barely changed across any of them. That's not noise. That's a verdict being handed down in slow motion, one incident at a time. So before you click away thinking you already know this story, you don't. Not all of it. Not the 2018 ejection that the league itself had to walk back. Not the Houston halftime meltdown in January. Not the Miami broadcast crew that stopped pretending to be neutral. Not the 8-year paper trail that connects all of it. We're going through every piece of it, chronologically, with receipts. This is Hoop Action TV, and we don't do surface level takes here. We go deeper. We are closing in on 1,500 subscribers. And if this channel has ever given you an NBA breakdown that made you think differently about a story, right now is the time to hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this video. The algorithm rewards channels that earn it, and we earn ours by actually doing the work. Hit subscribe and let's keep building this together. May 3rd, 2026, the night after Game 7, Jaylen Brown sits down on Twitch. He's visibly frustrated, not in the theatrical way athletes sometimes perform frustration for cameras, but in the quiet, flat way that comes when someone has been holding something in for a while and finally stops holding it. He does not open with excuses. He does not go after the referees or the officiating in general terms. He is specific, he is calm, and what he says lands like a punch. Joel Embiid is a great player, one of the best bigs in basketball history. Flops. You know it. That sentence, 18 words, was picked up by Instagram, X, Reddit, The Athletic, The New York Post, and CBS Boston within hours. The phrase "he flops, he knows it" became a meme before midnight. Counts like at FA-nology PV posted, NBA Twitter about to go crazy. At Legion Hoops confirmed the stream callout, and the clip detonated comment sections across every platform. But what often gets lost in the retelling is this: Brown did not start on Twitch. He started on the court in front of reporters post-game, in the kind of setting where athletes usually give you nothing. He chose to be specific. He chose to name the player. He chose to do it first in the press room and then again on stream, which means this was not an accidental hot take or a rambling venting session. It was a considered statement delivered twice, and the structure of it matters. He did not say Embiid is a fraud. He did not say the Celtics deserve to win. He opened by calling Embiid one of the best bigs in basketball history, acknowledging the talent first and then delivered the critique. That combination, full respect for the ability, direct indictment of the behavior, that framing will come back again, more than once. The reason Brown's comments hit differently than a typical post-series rant is the context sitting underneath them. This was not a one-time accusation. This was the most recent entry in a file that had been building for the better part of a decade. Stop 1 Phoenix, February 8, 2026. Mid-game, Devin Booker and Joel Embiid are in each other's space. Both players pick up technicals, the game moves on, but post-game Booker does not move on. He steps to the mic and says, "He's too good of a player to be flopping like that." Read that sentence next to Brown's: "He's a great player, one of the best bigs in basketball history." Flops, the structure is identical. Praise the talent, then deliver the cut. 2 stars, 2 different conferences, 3 months apart, the same exact framing. That is not a coincidence. That is a consensus forming. Stop 2 Houston, January 22nd, 2026. Joel Embiid draws 9 free throw attempts in the first half alone. 9. The Rockets' assistant coach, Royal Ivey, goes off at halftime. He calls it foul baiting, calls it crazy, and specifically says make him guard somebody. The Rockets' own broadcast crew echoes it live on air in real time while the game is still being played. This is not a playoff loser venting about a series result. This is a coach in January in a regular season game watching what he believes is systematic foul manipulation and saying so out loud with cameras running. The Rockets had no post-series axe to grind. They were reacting to what was happening on the floor that night. Stop 3 Detroit, 2018. This is the original receipt, the one that predates all of it. Andre Drummond and Joel Embiid are in a physical overtime game. Embiid sells contact. Drummond gets ejected with under a minute left in overtime. The Pistons lose, and then this is the part that matters. The NBA rescinds Drummond's technical foul and issues Embiid a flopping warning. The only formal flopping action of his entire career. The league, reviewing the play, determined that what happened did not warrant Drummond's ejection. They reversed the call. Drummond's response on social media was pointed, sharp, and remarkably structured almost identically to what Jaylen Brown would say 8 years later. Acknowledge the ability. Question the theater. That exact framing across two players across nearly a decade. As the account at NBA Central put it, the discourse around his game keeps getting louder. 8 years apart, the words barely changed. Players have reasons to be bitter, coaches have competitive stakes, but announcers, especially mid-game, mid-season announcers with nothing on the line, have no reason to editorialize unless what they're watching forces them to. Miami, March 30th, 2026. Regular season, 76ers vs Heat. Bam Adebayo is guarding Joel Embiid possession after possession. And somewhere around the 9-minute mark of the first quarter, the Heat broadcast crew stops pretending to be neutral. They say it on air, "You can't put your hands on him, he'll flop." They note specifically that Adebayo is backing up, creating distance to avoid triggering contact, not because Adebayo can't guard a big man. Because he's making a tactical decision to not give Embiid the opportunity to initiate contact and draw a call. The broadcast crew calls out specific possessions, the 9-minute mark, the 7-minute mark. By halftime, the broadcast audio clips are being pulled and distributed across social media. Comment sections detonate. The critical distinction here is what Miami was not. Miami was not in a playoff series with Philadelphia. Miami was not coming off a heartbreaking loss. These were two announcers, mid-regular season, reacting in real time to what the camera in front of them was showing. No sour grapes, no agenda, just a broadcast crew saying what they saw. And this was not isolated to Miami. Bulls fan commentary, Reddit's RNBA threads, the Pro Football Network, all tracking the same pattern across the same stretch of games. The vocabulary had calcified by this point. Across cities, across months, the same words kept appearing: foul baiting, flopping, embellishment, unwatchable. Same vocabulary, every city, every month. Here is where the honest version of this story has to pump the brakes. Because the footage exists and the callouts exist, but so do the statistics, and any serious breakdown has to hold both. In the Boston series alone, Embiid attempted 37 free throws across 4 games, more than 9 per night, coming off an appendectomy recovery that limited his conditioning and changed the way he used his body to create contact. Zoom out further. Embiid has led the NBA in free throw attempts in multiple seasons. This is not an anomaly. It is a sustained pattern across his career, but that same pattern has existed for other dominant players throughout NBA history. Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Harden, every era's most physically dominant or most skilled scorer has built a significant portion of their game around drawing fouls. The rulebook rewards players who can initiate contact in ways that force referees to make decisions. That is not a loophole. That is the game as it is designed. Here's the real wrinkle that changes everything. 4K cameras and clip culture have fundamentally altered how plays are perceived. Every fall is now a trial. Every trip to the line generates a post. Every contested call is slowed down to 0.25x speed and framed as evidence. The game has not changed as dramatically as the surveillance of the game has. And this is the part that requires honesty. Holding both of those things true simultaneously does not cancel one side out. The contact is real and the embellishment is also real. The calls are sometimes earned and the falls are sometimes oversold. Both of those statements can be accurate at the same time. Even Brown acknowledged it. Even Booker acknowledged it. Neither of them argued that Embiid cannot play. Neither of them said the fouls are invented from nothing. The critique from every quarter has always been the same: he's too good to need the theater. That specific phrasing, "he's too good," is always there, which means the argument is not about his legitimacy as a player. It is about a specific layer added on top of that legitimacy. And heading into the Knicks series, that layer is about to face its loudest audience yet. When Jaylen Brown's comments landed, the basketball conversation lasted approximately 12 hours. Then the culture machine took over and the conversation became something else entirely. Stephen A. Smith on First Take called Brown's comments an awful, awful look. The Get Up panel, Jay Williams and Monica McNutt, acknowledged that flopping is a genuine issue in the NBA, but argued that the timing made Brown look like he was making excuses for a series loss rather than raising a legitimate concern. Jeff Schwartz of Fox Sports went further, calling the comments soft and whiny. On the other side, fans began pulling up compilation clips. Years of Embiid footage, old quotes from players and coaches resurfacing, the 2018 Drummond ruling being cited again. The argument had evidence behind it, but in the culture machine, evidence moves slower than narrative. When Stephen A. Smith weighs in on a story, you are no longer having a basketball debate. You are having a culture debate, and in a culture debate, the film stops mattering. The vibe takes over. This is a dynamic the NBA has seen play out before. After the rip-through rule era, James Harden spent seasons carrying the flopper label regardless of the individual play being reviewed. LeBron James faced the same reputation management challenge for stretches of his career. The pattern is consistent. Once the league's media ecosystem decides what your reputation is, every play gets filtered through that lens. A legitimate foul becomes evidence for the prosecution. A missed call becomes proof the label was wrong. For Embiid, the label has been building since at least 2018. By May 2026, it is fully formed and self-reinforcing. As of May 5, 2026, the 76ers and Knicks second-round matchup is imminent, and the Knicks fanbase is already primed. Ex-Knicks fans are drawing direct comparisons between Embiid and Jalen Brunson, framing it as a contrast between two styles of play, two reputations, two relationships with officiating. Josh Hart has touched on the energy around tickets and crowd intensity. Players have not gone full Brown yet, but Game 1 changes the calculation for everyone. It always does. The pattern at this point is entirely predictable. Embiid gets to the line, the opposing fanbase explodes. A clip goes viral. Panel show picks it up. Stephen A. yell. The cycle resets. Every whistle at Madison Square Garden is going to get screamed at. Every fall will be clipped within seconds and distributed before the next inbounds play. Here is something that got almost no attention in the aftermath of Brown's comments. The NBA has had formal flopping rules since the 2012-13 season. 14 years. Those rules allow for real-time technical fouls for flopping. They allow for post-game reviews and fines. The structure exists. The enforcement does not. In 14 years, no player has ever been suspended for flopping. No fine has ever been large enough to change behavior. The formal apparatus exists entirely on paper. Brown was not just venting about Embiid on that Twitch stream. He was venting about the entire enforcement architecture, about a system that has rules it refuses to apply. That part of the argument got buried immediately under the sour grapes narrative. But the substance of it is real and it has not gone away. State this clearly. There is no lifetime ban, there is no suspension, there is no new fine. No disciplinary action against Joel Embiid is pending as of this video. Cross-reference every major outlet, The Athletic, ESPN, The New York Post, CBS Boston, Yahoo Sports, and none of them are reporting any formal NBA action. Ban is a headline that was manufactured, circulated, and consumed without any factual foundation underneath it. The only formal flopping action the NBA has ever taken against Joel Embiid in his entire career is a warning issued in 2018 following the Drummond ejection. One warning, over more than a decade in the league. That is the complete disciplinary record. But strip the false headline away and look at what remains. Jalen Brown's Twitch stream is real. The quote is document. The context is verified. Devin Booker's post-game comment is real, confirmed by multiple outlets, delivered in a formal press availability. Royal Ivy's halftime explosion in Houston is real, on camera, during a regular season game in January. The Heat broadcast cruise on Air Calo is real. The audio exists. The specific possessions were cited. The 2018 Drummond ejection and the league's reversal is real. The NBA issued the flopping warning. The record is public. 8 years of identical vocabulary across multiple players, coaches, and broadcasters is real. The documentation is there. The league has had flopping rules for 14 seasons and has applied them so rarely that they have functionally ceased to exist as a deterrent. No player has ever been suspended. No fine has ever been reported to have changed behavior at the highest level. The enforcement architecture is a ghost. It exists in the rulebook, the way the ban exists in the headlines, stated but not real. So why does every Embiid moment feel like a breaking point? Because the basketball world has been rehearsing this conversation for 8 years without ever actually resolving it. And the resolution never comes because the NBA has no appetite for the conflict that would follow if it actually enforced the rules it already has. If anything shifts from here, it will not be an Embiid-specific punishment. The league does not operate that way. Any meaningful rule change would have to apply across the board, and that means it touches James Harden, Trae Young, the legacy of old LeBron, every foul-drawing star in the modern game. That is a significant disruption to the aesthetic of the sport as it currently exists on television. Stars draw fouls. Fouls generate drama. Drama generates ratings. The argument buried inside Brown's Twitch rant, the one the sour grapes framing suffocated, is actually about what professional basketball looks like on television in 2026. About whether the product is being served or undermined by the way officiating currently interacts with star players who have mastered the art of initiating contact. That argument has legs. It has had legs for years. Multiple players, coaches, and broadcast professionals have made versions of it and documented on record settings. The question has never been whether Joel Embiid deserves a ban. The question is whether the NBA has any appetite to address the system that makes this conversation necessary in the first place. 14 years of evidence gives a clear answer: not yet, possibly not ever under the current structure. The ban does not exist. That is the factual conclusion. But what Embiid carries into every arena, every possession, every trip to the free throw line, that is something the rulebook cannot quantify. He is the player whose every move is treated as evidence in a trial that never actually happens. That is what 8 years of consistent, documented, cross-platform criticism produces. Not a suspension, not a fine large enough to matter. Reputation, fully formed, self-reinforcing, and impossible to shed in the moment, regardless of what the replay shows. When the 76ers and Knicks tip off at Madison Square Garden, that reputation walks onto the floor with him. Every fall will be screamed at before it lands. Every free throw attempt will get the same reaction regardless of how it was earned. Every call will be processed through a lens that has been ground by 8 years of the same conversation. That is the weight, not a ban. A label, and in the NBA, where reputation shapes how referees read contact, how media frames plays, and how fans process outcomes, a label can be harder to shake than any formal punishment the league is willing to hand down. The flopping rules have existed since 2012. They have never been applied with enough consistency to change anything. The conversation has been happening since at least 2018. It has never produced a resolution. And the next time Embiid draws a foul at MSG, within the first 5 minutes of Game 1, almost certainly all of it will start again. Not a ban, a label. And in the NBA, sometimes that is harder to shake. If this breakdown gave you something real, share it. Send it to someone who thinks they already know this story. Drop it in a group chat before Game 1. Because the Embiid-Knicks matchup is coming, and every moment of it is going to be filtered through exactly what we just covered. You are now better equipped to watch it than most people talking about it online. And here's the question worth putting in the comments. Is Joel Embiid the greatest flopper in modern NBA history, or is he the greatest player who happens to draw the most contact? Because those are two genuinely different things, and how you answer that tells you something about how you watch the game. Drop your answer below, debate it, let's hear it. If you enjoy real NBA breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.